Human demographers have compiled large amounts of data on human mortality and fertility and made it available. There hasn't been anything comparable to that available for population ecologists to study the demography of plant populations.
COMPADRE is a database that contains demographic information on plant species in the form of matrix population models. But not only does it contain these core types of information, it also contains information on important covariates that help give context to these data.
A population projection matrix is an operator that describes the demography of a population in terms of some set of stages in the life cycle, the transitions and the survival probability that individuals have for moving between those stages, and the rates at which individuals in different stages reproduce. Combining all of those things gives you a very rich description of population growth.
So the COMPADRE database is actually a pretty old project. It started by the hand of Jonathan Silverton and Miguel Franco in the early 90s, and about 2006 I became interested in comparative demography. At that point I was doing my PhD, and I asked Miguel and Jonathan if I could have a copy of the database and expand it. During my PhD I expanded it up to 500 species. Going on to my first postdoc at the Max Planck Institute, in collaboration with Owen Jones and other folks, we have expanded it substantially, not just in number of matrices and studies, but also in number of covariates and the organization in our objects.
So COMPADRE is an archive, and very much like a museum that has stuffed animals in, COMPADRE archives plant population dynamics data. Instead of just having a static animal or plant, COMPADRE has schedules of reproduction, growth and death for, at the moment, up to about 500 plant species. But through time we will continue to add to this, much as people carry on collecting museum specimens, and we're going to add up to 1,000 species of plants, which will come online in the next 6 months to a year.
The goal of COMPADRE is to assemble as many such matrices as possible for plant populations from all over the world, from all different taxonomic groups, and to compile those, including a rich set of information about the studies that those matrices come from, their spatial location, their environmental manipulations, how many years and locations they came from, and by doing that, to make this available for people to do comparative analyses of the demography of plants.
The potential for COMPADRE is quite high. One could say that the sky is the limit. It can range from the application of fundamental questions in formal demography to the application to more conservation-oriented questions. And they can range, and they have ranged historically, through the evolution of life history traits in the plant kingdom, to the existence or the escape of senescence, evaluation of endangerment in protected species, or the risk of invasion in certain areas.
The research questions that I'm addressing with COMPADRE are around how the environment influences the schedules of reproduction, growth and death that plants experience. I'm interested in whether plants in the tropics are doing different things, making their living in a different way to plants in alpine regions or the temperate zone, and broad questions around how the environment determines plant life histories. Plant demographers look at a small number of populations per species in general, and those populations that they do look at tend to be in the same area, so within a few kilometers of each other. And that doesn't really help us to answer questions like how the environment affects plant life histories within a species. So in my opinion, this is a really important gap, and a way that we can start to really extend and improve COMPADRE is to look at within species population variation in more detail. So I've started a new network and a new database which will hopefully get added into COMPADRE at some point, which is called Plant PopNet, where I'm recruiting hundreds of people worldwide to all look at this species here, which is Plantago lanceolata, or ribwort plantain, and to record the demography of this species in as many diverse environments as we can find. So by looking at environmental variation within one species, we can compare that with the cross-species variation in life histories that we see in the COMPADRE database. And that can help us to really tease out which differences in life history are due to the environment and which differences in life history are due to species differences.
We're very excited to keep on working in COMPADRE for 3 reasons. The first one is that so long as the users keep on publishing plant matrix models, we'll keep on adding them to our database and making public releases in a frequent manner. So far we have close to 1,000 plant species, and we've only made available half of them in the first release. The second point is that we're currently working on a sister database called the COMPADRE Animal Matrix Database, which contains over 1,200 animal species. And last but not least, we're in communications with the managers of other databases to further integrate the database COMPADRE with repositories such as GBIF, GenBank, or the TRI database. COMPADRE is awesome.